Alex Murdaugh appeared before a judge today, and as expected, he defiantly stated not guilty. That's when he was asked how he pled to two murder charges that he's now facing for allegedly killing his wife Maggie and his son Paul. Well, Alex Murdaugh dialed 911 last year to report that he'd arrived at his family's 1,700-acre estate in South Carolina, only to find his wife and son murdered near their outside kennels. Make sure you go back and watch some of my other videos on this case, especially last week's, and make sure you're checking out my appearances on Court TV where I discuss this case from start to finish. Been doing it now for a year, but I really think you'll find my case review last week to be really helpful. Well, frankly, when Murdaugh walked into the courtroom today, I was shocked. The guy's lost a lot of weight and he shaved his head. I immediately wondered if this was Murdaugh's way of trying to distance himself from those images and the public persona that he has out there of Alex Murdaugh in the news, the pictures of him, everything that's been splashed across television news stations, and of course, all kinds of social media. His change in appearance could really be a survival tactic to distance himself from other inmates who may or may not know what he's accused of but are in jail with him. Regardless, once the hearing began, the prosecutor announced that Murdaugh had waived the formal reading of the facts of the case. Remember, this is something a grand jury believed, and they bound him over for trial. Watch as this prosecutor announces the charges, and we hear from Murdaugh as he enters his not guilty plea.
Richard Ellen Murdaugh, if that is your name, please raise your right hand. Do you waive reading of the indictments?
Yes, sir.
What say you, Richard Ellen Murdaugh? Are you guilty or not guilty of the felonies wherein you stand indicted?
Not guilty.
How shall you be tried?
By God and my country.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the fact that the prosecutor acknowledged a year-long effort from that South Carolina State Patrol or police agent that worked this case. I also appreciated the fact that the prosecutor acknowledged the surviving victims in the case, indicating that the state and their victim advocate had cleared everything that they were doing with those surviving victims first. In my book, that speaks volumes to their commitment to the process and to providing advocacy for those who cannot ensure that for themselves. Now, both the prosecution and the defense agreed that there should be a gag order on both parties so that nobody is out there talking in the public, discouraging any public interviews at all. The prosecutor did point out, though, that he wanted to make sure this didn't stop him and the state from keeping the public informed about hearings, motions, and of course, the upcoming trial. The defense mentioned how much publicity this case has already received in the media and online. Now, they didn't need to say so, but I suspect this is all part of a plan they have of laying a foundation to either to get a change of venue or to use an appeals somewhere down the road. The defense asked for a speedy trial, and they remarked that they wanted this thing to go to trial in the next 90 to 120 days. With that, they reminded the court that they've asked for all the state's evidence, this process called discovery, and they expected to get it within the 30-day window that's required by rules. Now, the defense, again, said that it was Alex Murdaugh who wants a speedy trial, and he wants it because he believes he's going to be proven innocent and that they can get the state back on track to finding the real killer. Well, this case is going to be interesting, but I think the defense is going to have a really difficult time getting past all the physical and forensic evidence that media reports are suggesting has already been obtained in the investigation. And I want to remind you, used in the grand jury that bound him over for trial. Now, while investigators remain quiet regarding the case, People magazine reported that a law enforcement source who has direct knowledge of the case said that police have a, quote, mountain of evidence, close quote. The year it took to file the case doesn't appear to be a year where police were trying to figure out what happened to Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. It sounds like it was a year in which investigators were using to collaborate evidence, confirm suspicion, complete interviews, and get forensic examinations done so that they could solidify their case. So the question automatically becomes, what kind of evidence is it that they've got? Well, last week, we learned that investigators recovered some high velocity blood spatter on Murdaugh's clothing. Now, high velocity is almost a mist. It really happens when blood is sprayed with a real amount of force behind it. It's a lot different. You think about having a bloody nose and a drop of blood drops to the ground. You can see a big drop and it spreads out, and you can see the little fibers coming out off the blood. High velocity blood spatter, it's like mist. It is so powerful and shock. Kind of like when your spray bottle at home or something like that is kind of an indication of what that would be like. Well, if the blood happens to be Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, or that of his son, Paul, this is huge because it puts Murdaugh at the scene of the murder when it happened. Remember, Murdaugh said that he was miles away visiting his father at the hospital. Now, another major behavioral and circumstantial issue that Murdaugh's going to have to get over is the trouble that he and Maggie were reportedly having in their marriage. According to several sources, Maggie and Alex were separated. Maggie was staying at the family's beach house over at Disto Island. I don't know if I said that right, folks, but it's about 60 minutes from their home. Now, this same law enforcement source told People magazine that Maggie was asked by Alex to meet him at the family home on the day of the murder, and there together go to visit Alex's father in the hospital. Something and someone that Maggie wanted to do and adored. She really liked his dad. But she was uncomfortable with Alex. She declined and said she would just meet him at the hospital. But apparently, he somehow convinced her to meet at the residence, and she drove over to meet him there. Now, she ultimately agrees to this. And think about the risk continuum we talk about over and over again on Profiling Evil. She took this risk feeling really uncomfortable about it. But she said, hey, I'll meet you there, but I'm going to go in my own vehicle when we go to the hospital. So she's still trying to keep that separation going there. That's a huge behavioral flag that we got to pay attention to. En route to meet Alex, Maggie instant messages a friend saying that there's something really fishy about Alex's behavior and she's uncomfortable about meeting him. She actually says, quote, he's up to something, close quote. Well, if all this is true, he was up to something big. Regardless, Maggie ignored the prompting to stay away, and she agreed to meet at the residence. And all this is apparently backed up by forensic phone examinations. And if it's true, this could be one of the biggest pieces of evidence in the case. Now, that information, when coupled with what appears to be, in my opinion, the biggest smoking gun in the case, when it all comes together, it's going to be how the state confidently steps forward like they are and says, yeah, we're ready to proceed. If Murdaugh wants a speedy trial, we'll go to a speedy trial. Now, you see, if Maggie, Alex, and Paul's location data from their vehicles and their mobile devices are accessed and analyzed, and I suspect they are, it's probably going to place them all at the ranch at the same place and time. If that happens, that's going to be really hard to overcome. But let's not forget this newest piece of information that came out today. There's reportedly cell phone audio and video recordings that place Murdaugh at the scene, talking with Maggie just moments before she was killed. Think of Delphi and the role that captured evidence has played in the case. Can you imagine if Maggie or Paul recorded their own murder? And with all that, Murdaugh's attorneys maintain he's innocent. In fact, they did so in court, and they did so in a statement saying, quote, Alex wants his family, friends, and everyone to know that he did not have anything to do with the murders of Maggie and Paul.
We'd like to go ahead and get this matter before a Colleton County jury as quickly as possible. Mr. Murdaugh does this for a number of reasons. One, as you've heard, he believes he's innocent, avers he's innocent. And two, he believes that the killer or killers are still at large, and this would allow SWED to put this behind him and go look for the real killers.
He loved them more than anything in the world, close quote. So, what are your thoughts on this one, folks? Do you think Alex Murdaugh has a tall mountain to climb in proving he's innocent? And what do you think will be the most important piece of evidence in this case? Will it be the forensic data from the vehicles and the cell phones? Or is it going to be the blood spatter reportedly discovered on Murdaugh's clothing? What is it that's going to swing this jury? Don't forget, there's also Murdaugh's interviews with police, his 911 call. And of course, there's going to be forensics from the weapons that were used to kill Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Well, thanks for supporting Profiling Evil. You know, we're starting a new round of instruction in the Profiling Evil Academy in a few weeks, so I hope you'll take a moment and check out our channel memberships. You can get into this thing for as little as $1.99 a month, folks. The Academy, $4.99 a month. It's the only place that you're going to be first in line for special videos, chats, and content. And remember that you can find Profiling Evil on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you like podcasts, check us out on your favorite podcast platform. Hey, and I hope you'll hit that like and subscribe button, and I hope you'll visit profilingevil.com and sign up for our free newsletter, the B.O.L.O. Now, we don't share your information with anybody, and we only use it to share content, only from time to time, and we include discounts on valuable things like Truth Finder. It's a website that I use to check out information on people and cases that I'm looking into. In fact, I'm going to put the link down below, and if you'd like to check them out, you can take advantage of a special discount code that I put in there. And you can do some things for free if you want. You can sign up or you can drop it at any time. I think you'll really like it. And hey, if you sign up, I get a little bit of a commission from them, about enough to buy a Diet Dr. Pepper from time to time. So thanks for your support, and we'll see you all soon at the next crime scene.